This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Can you hear me clearly, or I shall remove my mask? Okay, now?
Okay, ma'am.
Today's topic is endometriosis. Okay. This is an exam question. They will ask the theories of endometriosis and medical management of endometriosis are the short answers for you. 4 marks question it is. Okay. Listen, very easy topic. Listen properly. So what is endometriosis? It is the presence of functional endometriotic tissue outside the uterine mucosa. Actually, uterine mucosa is not given here, uterus it is given. So, presence of functional endometriotic. So, you already know uterus contains endometrium, myometrium, parametrium, isn't it? So, in the endometrium, endometrial tissue will be present. But this presence of functional endometrial tissue outside the uterine mucosa, that is known as endometriosis. There are 2 types of endometriosis. It can be endometriosis interna or endometriosis externa. Endometriosis interna, that is presence of endometrial tissue, ectopic endometrial tissues in the myometrium. If it is present in the uterus itself, but in the myometrium, it is known as adenomyosis. Usually, these are the cases will come regularly in our gynecological practice. Adenomyosis, so many cases it will come. Next comes, as I already told you, endometriosis externa, that is other than the uterus. Okay, but it is a very benign disease. Even though it is a benign disease, it is locally invasive and disseminates widely, it spreads widely, and also it will be invasive variety. And it will stimulate with the hormones. Continuously, if we give hormones, we can suppress this endometriosis. So, endometriosis is nothing but presence of functional endometrial tissue outside the uterine mucosa. 2 types, externa and interna. Interna is present in the myometrium. Externa means outside the uterus. Okay, it's a benign variety. See, these are the sites of endometriosis. See, this is the uterus. Amma, idi undada. See, this is the uterus. Can you see this? This is the uterus. There are so many sites marked with red points surrounding the uterus. So, what are the common sites you will see? What will be present by the side of the uterus? Fallopian tubes will be present. Ovaries will be present. Pelvic peritoneum will be present. Pouch of Douglas. Back to the uterus, what will be there? Uterosacral ligaments. And side by uterus, sigmoid colon one side, another side appendix and lymph nodes. These are the normal common sites. Okay, common sites are fallopian tubes, ovaries, peritoneum, pelvic peritoneum, uterosacral ligaments, pouch of Douglas. One side sigmoid colon will be present, one side appendix will be present. And pelvic lymph nodes are the common sites for endometriosis. But there are rare and remote sites of endometriosis also present. They will be umbilicus, abdominal scar, episiotomy scar, lungs, pleura, ureter, kidney, even arms, legs, and nasal mucosa. Okay, so remote places are there, common sites are there. This you should remember. Then what are the risk factors to develop endometriosis? So many people will be there, females, only few, the incidence is only 10%. Why only few people are developing this endometriosis? You should know the risk factors. The people who are infertile, we always think endometriosis might be one of the causes for the infertility. Early age at menarche, shorter menstrual polymenorrhea, hypermenorrhea, nulliparity who has not conceived at all, or and Mullerian anomalies. What are the Mullerian anomalies which are responsible? cryptomenorrhea, or any cervical stenosis. These are the cases we'll see Mullerian anomalies and exposure to DES, diethyl stilbestrol, endometriosis in the family itself, and dioxin exposure, and prior surgeries of medical therapy for endometriosis. Already they are treated for medical therapy for endometriosis. Still, we can get endometriosis patients continuously. So, what are the risk factors? Infertile couple, nulliparity who are not at all having children, early age of menarche, shorter menstrual cycles, Mullerian anomalies, the person who are exposed to DES and dioxin, diet high in fat and red meat, prior surgeries or medical therapy for endometriosis. These are the risk factors. What are the protective factors? Already opposite we should remember. Nulliparity means a multiparity, lactation, tobacco exposure in uterus, increased body mass index, increased waist to hip ratio, who does exercise, who had diet rich in vegetables and fruits. These are the protective factors. Okay. Not only that, protective factors also include IUCD and use of contraception. There are so many theories how these will occur only in few people. And this is a short answer for you. Theories of endometriosis is a short answer for you. There are 7 theories are present. Among them, Sampson theory is the first one. This is also known as retrograde menstruation theory. Okay. So what will happen? Few endometrial fragments, usually menstrual flow, how it go outside through vagina. But some of the endometrial fragments, they go back, retrograde through the fallopian tube into the peritoneal cavity through tubes. Okay. And sometimes some obstructive anomalies, any obstruction in the genital tract also can go retrogradely. See here. Can you see here uterus filling of the menstrual blood through the fallopian tubes into the peritoneal cavity, and all the organs will be marker. So, see here, you can you listen me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, this is a tube. Can you see this arrow? Can you see the arrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Through the fallopian tube, it will spill into the peritoneal cavity. All the tissues which are present near the uterus will get infected. Will become, this endometrial tissue will lodge there, and these will respond to the hormones. Okay. As if whenever there is menstruation, here also the blood, they will be bleeding, here also will be present. Then comes the coelomic metaplasia theory. This is also known as Mayer and Ivanov theory. Here what will happen? The coelomic metaplasia, the peritoneal coelomic metaplasia, it itself transforms into the endometrial tissue. So this explains endometriosis in ectopic sites. The original coelomic membrane, it itself transforms into the endometrial tissue. And sometimes one more theory is in coelomic metaplasia, during embryogenesis only, the Mullerian cells will be entrapped in the coelomic membrane, and these Mullerian cell rests, these will transform into the endometrial tissue. Then comes the lymphatic and vascular metaplasia theory. It is Halben's theory. There will be extensive communication of lymphatics will be present between the uterus, tubes, ovaries, and pelvic and vaginal lymph nodes will be present. So through lymphatics, there will be a spread. And not only that, hematogenous spread. See, already I told you in remote places, for example, in lungs, pleura, nose, and all, how they will go? Here means they are spilling. Other theory is hematogenous spread through the vascular spread. Through this, it will go to the remote places. This theory explains to the remote places. Then comes number 4 is genetic factors. Risk is 7 times more in the first degree relatives of endometriosis. Okay. Then coming is the immunological factors. See, normally what will happen is there will be macrophages in the peritoneal fluid. Okay. What is their role? Usually, any debris which will come, they will phagocytize. So they will remove all these macrophages will remove the debris. But in these endometriotic patients, what will happen is this there will be decreased natural killer cell activity, decreased macrophage activity. Macrophages will be present, but their activity will be depressed, and decreased cell mediated immunity. Okay, in these patients, all these factors will play a role, and this leads to endometriosis. Okay, there will be altered immune system, decreased immunological clearance of endometrial cells from the peritoneal cavity. Okay. Then what will happen? One more thing is, not only there will be a decrease in the macrophage activity, and these macrophages will in turn trigger the tumor necrotizing factor TNF, interleukins, and vascular growth factor are also will be increased, and these factors will responsible for the endometriosis. And not only this, macrophages, what they do, sir, they decrease sperm motility. They will sometimes they will phagocytize the sperm and interfere with fertilization. And this is the other activity of the macrophages. Then comes the direct implantation. See, sometimes I already told you through the episiotomy scar, hysterectomy, not hysterotomy, cesarean, tubectomy, and myomectomy scars also, we'll see the implantations, that is endometriosis through direct implantation. Then comes the environmental theory. This is a little bit rare. Only the somatic mutation of cell due to environmental factors like dioxin already I told you, any pollutants, all this will lead to endometriosis. So, this theory so many times they ask, again I am telling, what are the common sites? Endometriosis is nothing but presence of functional tissue and other than the uterine mucosa. Externa is endometriosis externa, interna is presence of endometriotic tissue in the myometrium. That is enough. The common sites you should know, around the uterus, you remember, ovary, fallopian tube, peritoneal cavity, pouch of Douglas, uterosacral ligament, sigmoid colon, appendix. These are the common sites, isn't it? There are so many theories, 7 theories you have to remember to explain the endometriosis. Again, I am repeating, it is nothing but Sampson theory is nothing but retrograde menstruation. It is going back. Instead of going completely into the vagina, a few fragments of endometrial tissue will go back to the fallopian tubes and they will get spilled into the peritoneal cavity here. See, like this. This is the Sampson's retrograde theory. Coelomic metaplasia, that is Mayer and Ivanov theory. The original coelomic membrane will transforms into the endometrial tissue. That is. Number 3rd one is lymphatic and vascular metaplasia theory. Through the lymphatic, there will be extensive communication will be present around the uterus with the tubes and other structures. So there will be extensive, because of this, there will be a metastatic theory through lymphatics and vascular spread. Vascular spread, which will explain the spread to remote places such as lungs, pleura, nose, legs, arm. Already I told you that. And genetic factor, family history, it aids 7 times more in the first degree relatives. And immunological factors, usually normally The macrophages will remove the debris, but here it will be decreased natural killer cell activity, decreased macrophage activity, and decreased cell-mediated immunity. And not only that, these macrophages also promote human necrotizing factor, interleukin-6 and 8, vascular growth factor. This all will increase the growth of endometrium. And other function of macrophages, what it does are, it will decrease the sperm motility will be decreased. This you should remember, because this is the one of the causes for the infertility in this endometriosis. And not only that, they will engulf the sperm and sometimes interfere with the fertilization. I think this, and direct implantation theory, directly the tissue will be implanted over the scar. That is hysterotomy. See, remember, hysterotomy is doing cesarean section before the viability of the fetus. Okay. That is hysterotomy. Cesarean section after 28 weeks of gestation. Tubectomy, myomectomy scar. All this will be explained by direct implantation. And finally is the environmental theory, exposure to the pollutants. The 7 theories you have to write in the exam when they ask for the theories of endometriosis. So next is presentation. What is the clinical presentation, symptoms and signs? What is the, you remember 3 Ds: dysmenorrhea, dyspareunia, and deep-seated chronic pelvic pain. These 3 Ds are very important. Not only those 3 Ds, other two are also present. They are dysuria and dyschasia. What is dyschasia? Dysuria is painful micturition. Dyschasia is painful defecation. Okay. These 5 Ds are important. Among the 5 Ds, again 3 Ds are very important. They are dysmenorrhea, dyspareunia, and deep-seated chronic pelvic pain. So coming to the dysmenorrhea, the pain starts before the onset of menses, and at the time of menses, the pain will be very severe and slowly it will come down. Okay. Dyspareunia. Dyspareunia is mainly due to the involvement. I already told you that the sites of, among the sites of involvement, uterosacral ligaments are present, rectovaginal septum is present, and because of adhesions, fixed retroverted uterus, all this can lead to dyspareunia. Okay. And one thing you should remember is, whenever there is implantation is there, endometrial tissue is there, it starts bleeding during the time of menstruation. Later, what will happen is it is more prone to fibrosis formation will be present whenever there is extrapelvic endometriosis. This fibrosis can lead to adhesion formation. This you should remember. Okay. And one more presentation is abnormal bleeding. What are the types of bleeding abnormality we will come across is menorrhagia and polymenorrhea and premenstrual spotting are the common things we will come across in these cases. And infertility, this is very important. Why the people will have infertility? Whenever the people will come to the OP, when you screen or will take the history, when you screen a patient, usually infertility will be associated with endometriosis. Okay. In advanced disease, adhesions and fixity results in structural damage to the tubes and ovaries. Already I told you, whenever there is endometriosis, there will be fibrosis will be present. Then adhesion formations will be more in these cases. So how it leads to infertility, how it leads to, endometriosis, how it leads to endometriosis is, when coming to the peritoneal factor, what will happen? In the peritoneum, there will be inflammation. Peritoneal fluid will be present in the peritoneal cavity. There will be inflammation will be present. I already told you inflammatory cells will be released in the peritoneal cavity. Number 1. Number 2, ovary. When you come to the ovary, what are the problems will come across for the infertility? There can be anovulation. There won't be any ovulation. Number 1. Even though there is ovulation, the ovum is not released. That is known as luteinized unruptured follicle. The follicle is not ruptured here. Number 3, oocyte maturation defect. Okay, everything is fine, but it is not matured. Oocyte maturation defect will be present. When coming to the tube tube, what will happen? There will be altered tubal motility or ovum pickup and adhesion formation. The tubo-ovarian masses can also be present. When coming to the sperm problems, and already told you phagocytosis by macrophages and inactivation of antibodies. And coming to the endometrium, what are the problems we'll see? Luteal phase defects and implantation defects. These are the causes for the infertility in endometriotic patients. So again, I'm telling ovaries, what are the problems? It can be anovulation, luteal unruptured follicle, and oocyte maturation defect. When coming to the peritoneal cavity, there will be inflamed peritoneal fluid will be present. When coming to the tube, next one is tube, altered tubal motility because of adhesions, and ovum pickup also will be deranged. When come to the sperm, there will be phagocytosis by macrophages will be present. Coming to the endometrium, coming to the uterus, there will be luteal phase defect and implantation defects. All this leads to infertility. And not only these are the symptoms for the pelvic endometriosis. They have already told extra pelvic are also there. That is remote cases. They can be extra pelvic endometriosis leads to any genital tract, colon. That leads to what are the symptoms they can have? Rectal bleeding, that is melena. Or when they involve the urinary tract, they can have hematuria. Scar endometriosis, I already told you directly they will interfere, they will go and implant over the scars. They can have cyclical pain and bleeding at the scar, they can be seen. Umbilical endometriosis, presented up as umbilical mass with cyclical pain, they will give the history of pain at the umbilical mass during the time of menses and cyclical pain at the time of menses, usually they will get. Then pulmonary endometriosis, they can have hemoptysis and chemothorax. These are the other symptoms usually will come across. So this is the gist: dysmenorrhea, dyspareunia, deep-seated pain, dysuria. Dysphagia is nothing but painful defecation. Hematuria and infertility are the usual symptoms will come across in endometriosis. And coming to the signs, tenderness in the usually for abdomen, there may not be any problem here, unlike sometimes very rarely trio masses or chocolate masses can be palpated, but it's very rare. But coming to the signs, there will be fixed retroverted uterus, bluish powder burnt lesions. See, endometriosis, how they look, that is important. How they look, they can be reddish in color, or yellowish brown in color, or powder burnt, like matchstick tip will be present, that black color. They can be bluish powder burnt lesions can be present. And fourth variety is white ones. That is the old ones are usually white ones. Acute ones are usually flamed, that is red in color. Okay. There will be tenderness in the cul-de-sac. Nodulosity in the cul-de-sac is due to uterosacral ligament involvement, fixed retroverted uterus. Adnexal tenderness will be present, and adnexal masses are also present. These are the signs for endometriosis. Till now, have you understood? Then we'll go to investigations. See, even though always you should come with hematological investigations in the exam or when you write an exam. See, here it is ultrasound. You shouldn't tell like that. Always start with hemoglobin, urine albumin, sugar micro, blood urea, blood grouping, blood sugar. Then only you should go for the specific investigations such as ultrasound, CA-125. Usually CA-125 where they will be raised usually in the ovarian tumors, epithelial mucinous ovarian tumors, isn't it? But here also there is a raise in CA-125. It doesn't mean we can take it as a tumor marker or it's a marker. Only thing we can assess the severity of endometriosis. Okay. Laparoscopy. This is the gold standard. Why laparoscopy is gold standard? This is the basic. Usually, this infertile people, when you go laparoscopy for diagnostic laparoscopy, usually will come across these endometriotic patches. During laparoscopy, entire pelvis will be visualized. So we can detect always goes clockwise to or counterclockwise direction. Usually clockwise is preferable. While laparoscopy is gold standard is, we can visualize the lesion number one. We can see the extent of lesion. We can stage the disease. We can take biopsy and we can give treatment also how much possible. So that's why we can laparoscopy is more useful. Even minimal invasive surgery can be done with this laparoscopy. So one thing is we can detect visually. We can take the biopsy. Number two, we can stage the disease and we can do surgical, minimum surgical treatment through laparoscopy. So already I told you classic lesions, how they look. They are like burn. Already they will be like powder burn lesions, like blacks, like matchstick మీద ఉన్న black powder ఎలా ఉంటుందో they look like that. Sometimes that leads to fibrosis will be present, that leads to scarring and adhesions. Red lesions, flame-like lesions will be present, and white lesions, that is white opacities, already yellow color peritoneal patches. These are the mode of presentation in the pelvic peritoneum. Okay. Coming to the ovarian endometriosis, what will happen? Usually, they can be superficially, they can see endometriotic tissue. But when it go inside, what will happen is during the menses, there will be a bleed in the ovarian cavity, stroma. Then what will happen? Usually the serum will get absorbed. The red pigment will become thickened. It will become thick tarry fluid will be present in the ovary. That is chocolate colored fluid will be present in the ovary. That's why previously they used to call as chocolate cysts of the ovary. Because the blood which is bled in the ovary, the serum will be absorbed and the dark pigment will give the fluid, will give the appearance of thick tarry fluid, that is the chocolate fluid. That is the why it is known as chocolate cyst. But chocolate cyst differential diagnosis, other two cysts are there which will call as chocolate cyst also. There will be follicular cyst and corpus luteal cyst also. That's why nowadays we are calling this as endometrioma, ovarian endometrioma. We are calling not chocolate cyst. Okay, but this chocolate cyst is also a short answer for you. Already I told you there will be deep infiltrating endometriosis, may involve the uterosacral ligament, cervix, bowel, ureter. Already I told you. Lesions cause adhesion and scarring. Okay. Extrapelvic endometriosis, sigmoid, rectum, ileocecum, and appendix. All this can be involved. Usually when they involve the GIT, what are the problems usually will come across? They can be constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain, and cyclical rectal bleeding. Okay. There may be pain on defecation. That is known as, already I told you, this is dysphagia. And urinary tract infection, they can have dysuria, hematuria, and frequency. Pelvic ureter, they can lead to obstruction and hydronephrosis. Then comes the scar endometriosis. Whenever we can see the scar, what are the scar? Both sides of the, you are following laparoscopy. Okay. Or abdominal incision lesions following cesarean section. Already I told you hysterotomy, even episiotomy also. Okay. Present as painful swelling, more prominent at menstruation. Cyclical bleeding is rare but can be seen on this scar also. Vaginal endometriosis is rare, and thoracic endometriosis involving the lungs and thorax are also seen. That leads to cyclical hemoptysis and hemothorax. And other investigations are CT, MRI, color Doppler flow. There will be increased vascularity. Just for the undergraduation, the names will be enough. Cystoscopy, sigmoid cystoscopy for the visualization of the bladder, sigmoidoscopy for the bowel. And coming to the histology, when you take the biopsy, what are the things you are going to see? Endometrial, other than the endometrial tissue, endometrial implants and what will you present? Endometrial gland and stroma should be present to know the endometrial tissue. So In the biopsy for confirmation, we should see for the endometrial glands and stroma. Till now, I think you understood. All the routine investigations, hematological investigation should be followed with scan, then followed by CA-125, and laparoscopy is the gold standard. Then comes the CT, MRI, sigmoidoscopy. Okay. My Maratla slide. Slide Marla. Sorry. Cystoscopy, all these things can be done. Histology, always you should look for the endometrial glands and stroma. So coming to the classification of endometriosis. See, this is the slide. American Society of Reproductive Medicine. They revise the classification of endometriosis. This and all you need not remember. The only thing you should remember are what are the criteria they have taken for the classification of endometriosis. They have taken involvement of the one thing I should tell you, endometriosis will produce symptoms, more symptoms when they invade. Depth is more important. Superficial, if they spread, the symptoms, they are not severe. Even in one place, if the depth is deep, if they involve depth deeply, the symptoms will be more. So, superficial compared to superficial spread, depth involvement is very important in the production of symptoms in endometriosis. So, in this classification, what they have seen are, see, peritoneum, whether they are superficial invade or they deeply, how much they have involvement. You need not remember the whole chart. Just remember, peritoneum they have taken, ovaries, right and left they are taken, whether they are involved deeply or superficially. Then the cul-de-sac peritoneum, whether there is an infiltration in this cul-de-sac peritoneum they have taken. Then comes the adhesions for the ovary and tube. Okay, right and left ovary, right and left tube. So what are the 5 things they are taken into consideration for this classification are peritoneal involvement, whether it is superficial or deep, ovaries, right and left involvement, superficial or deep, cul-de-sac, posterior cul-de-sac infiltration, that is obliteration of the cul-de-sac number 3, and adhesions to the ovary, right and left, and tube, right and left. These are the 5 things they are taken from the classification. With that, they have staged the disease. Stage 1, they are given the grades, that is marks they are given. The minimum mean 1 to 5. Stage 2, mild 6 to 15. Stage 3, moderate 16 to 40. Stage 4 is more than 40. This much if you can remember, this will be enough for undergraduates. And what are the things they are taken into criteria you should write? Okay, 5 things: peritoneum, superficial or depth involvement, ovaries, right and left, superficial or depth, and left ovary, posterior cul-de-sac involvement, and adhesions in the ovary and tube. And coming to the differential diagnosis, what are the differential diagnosis? Usually we will take into consideration chronic PID, any adhesion, because here also adhesions will be there, old ectopic gestation, irritable bowel syndrome, diverticulitis, ulcerative colitis, Conn's disease, even the GAT problems we have to consider in differential diagnosis, because we have cyclical melena, pain abdomen, diarrhea, constipation, isn't it? That's why this is the differential diagnosis for endometriosis. Coming to the management. Management is also a short answer for you. See, management of endometriosis is asymptomatic and symptomatic. Asymptomatic or minimal endometriosis, not to introduce first thing, assurance, not to worry much. With some small symptoms are asymptomatic. Observe for 6 to 8 months and investigate the infertility patient. And symptomatic cases, we have to give drug therapy, minimal invasive surgery, and surgery. This is the symptomatic mode of treatment. It is only for observation for 6 to 8 months. If she had infertility or if she wants to conceive, we have to investigate the case for infertility. So this is the drugs. This chart you should remember. What are the drugs we are going to give? Or already I told you, this is this endometriotic tissue. When you give continuously, they will suppress the endometriotic tissue. Ocipils if you give continuously, hormones if you give continuously, the endometriotic tissue will be suppressed. So that's why, what are the drugs we are going to hear for this endometriosis? Combined ocipils can be given, or progesterone alone can be given, or IUCD can be given, progesterone, levonorgestrel releasing IUCD, that is Mirena, and danazol, gestianine, and TNRH analogs are the drug of choice. And associated with this, we can give non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs as a symptomatic treatment. So combined ocipils can be given 1 to 2 tablets, 6 to 9 months. Seasonal. Have you know about seasonal? For the 84 days continuously we can give, and we can give a, see, continuously only it will be effective. So we'll give not every month. Continuously if you give, it will completely suppress the endometriosis. What is the mode of mechanism here? They will produce a state of pseudo pregnancy. There will be desitulization of the endometrial tissue. So they will give a state of pseudo pregnancy, and it is well tolerated. So number one, ocipils can be given. Number two, progestogens. They can be oral. Medroxyprogesterone acetate. That is Maprate or Diveri. These are the tablets, usually the trade names. 10 milligrams thrice daily for 6 to 9 months they can be given, or dydrogesterone, or this is also known as glucagon. The advantage in this glucagon is it won't interfere with ovulation. This is the advantage with the glucagon. That is 10 to 20 milligrams daily for 6 to 9 months. Then norethisterone, Primoletin. Have you heard of it? Primoletin, 10 to 30 milligrams daily for 6 to 9 months can be given. And one more thing is IM injection. That is medroxyprogesterone, Depo-Provera. That is IM injection is Depo-Provera will be given. That is 150 milligrams once in every 3 months for 6 months can be given. That is 2 cycles can be given. Once in every 3 months we have to give this injection for 2 cycles. All the mechanism is desitulization of the endometrium by producing a state of pseudo pregnancy. And fourth one is levonorgestrel releasing IUCD, that is Mirena, can be introduced. Next comes the danazol. 400 to 800 milligrams orally in divided doses for 6 to 9 months. It produces state of pseudomenopause. This is important here. It is pseudo pregnancy. Danazol will produce a state of pseudomenopause. But because of side effects are more in this danazol, that's why it is a little bit less tolerated. And gestianine is 1.25 milligrams or 2.5 milligrams orally twice a week for 6 to 9 months. Here also it produces a state of pseudomenopause. There will be atrophy of the endometrial tissue. Then finally is the GnRH analogs. These are leuprolide, nephrolicin, goserelin, nephroline. These are the drugs usually will give. Leuprolide 3.75 milligrams IM monthly for 6 months can be given. Nephrolicin 200 micrograms intranasally daily for 6 months. And goserelin is 3.6 milligrams depot IM monthly for 6 months. So you remember leuprolide and goserelin 3.7 and 3.6 milligrams every monthly injections for 6 months. And nephroline is intranasally you should give. Here the state, what it will produce, medical oophorectomy. What is the state of, when you remove the ovaries, the status that will be present in these cases, that is known as medical oophorectomy. So drugs are and NSAIDs are symptomatic. Only as a side, main drugs will be ocipils, progesterones. Progesterones are medroxyprogesterone, dofestrone, and norethisterone. IM injection is Depo-Provera is medroxyprogesterone and IUCD. These are the oral. Preparations are medroxyprogesterone and ocipils. Then comes the danazol. It is 400 to 800 milligrams. It produces state of pseudomenopause. Gestianine 2.5 or 1.25 milligrams. It produces state of pseudomenopause. And GnRH analogs are leuprolide and goserelin 3.7 and 3.6 milligrams IM injections for 6 months, and neferelin is 200 micrograms intranasally daily for 6 months. It produces state of medical oophorectomy. See, combined OC pills. Already I told you seasonal OC pills for 84 days with 6 days tablet free. Every month for 21 days we need not give. Continuously for 84 days, that is known as seasonal OCs. And 6-day free period reduces the menstrual periods to just 4 cycles in a year. Instead of 12 cycles in a year, you can reduce the number of cycles also. And oral progesterones, already I told you, they exert anti-estrogenic effect. Norethisterone and danazol is ethinyl testosterone, is mildly anabolic, anti-estrogenic and anti-progesterone. Already I told you this is produces a stage of pseudo-menopause. The problems here are more: hirsutism, muscle cramps, sweating, depression, atrophy of the breast and vaginal epithelium will be present. That's why it is less tolerated. Aromatase inhibitors, letrozole, anastrozole can be given for 6 months. And this should be always combined with vitamin D and calcium supplementation, because this can lead to osteoporosis. One more I should tell you, this endometriosis is a estrogen dependent benign lesion. You should remember this. Then comes the JNRH analogs. Already I told you, goserelin, neprilysin and leuprolide. This is the drug therapy. The problem here is the drug therapy, even though how much ever you give, their failures will be present. Why there will be failures? The drugs cannot penetrate fibrotic capsule, number one. This ectopic endometrium, unlike normal endometrium, it responds less, comparatively less to hormones. That's why sometimes they can be a failure for the medical treatment. Then comes the minimal invasive surgery. So what is the minimal invasive surgeries we can do? Aspiration of peritoneal fluid. Why you want to aspirate this peritoneal fluid? It produces the inflammation in the peritoneal fluid. So we can remove this inflamed peritoneal fluid in the cul-de-sacs, number one. We can go for the vaporization or diathermy or cauterization of the endometriotic implants. And larger lesions of chocolate cysts can be excised. Okay, excised or cauterization of the cyst wall can be done. So what are the minimal invasive procedures are? We can aspirate the peritoneal fluid, number one. Number two, you can go for Nd:YAG laser treatment or cautery treatment or diathermy, and this directly we can destroy the endometriotic implants, but they should be less than 3 centimeters. And larger lesions and chocolate cysts can be excised. Okay. And we can also go for the laparoscopic breaking of adhesions in pelvis that relieves the dysmenorrhea and pelvic pain. Number 6 one is LUNA, that is laser uterosacral nerve ablation. Number 4. Number 7 is prolapse of genital tract and bladder dysfunction are noted in the LUNA. So we can tell these things. Laparoscopic breaking of adhesions can be done, minimal invasive procedure, and LUNA can be done. And surgery. What are the indications for surgery? Advanced disease, large lesion, which are not treated with. Hello? Evarama? Lakshmi garu sir. Therapy phase. We go for the surgery. Laparotomy can be done. We can do what? Dissection and excision of the chocolate cyst, salpingo-oophorectomy, and abdominal hysterectomy with bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy can be done. These are the definitive surgeries we can do. Minimal invasive, we can aspirate, or we can do diathermy or cautery or laser therapy can be given. Large lesions can be excised. Any adhesions can be removed. And finally, LUNA can be done. These are the invasive, minimal invasive procedures. But definitive treatment will be salpingo-oophorectomy, dissection and excision of the trochlesis, abdominal hysterectomy and bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy can be done. The definitive surgeries we can do. And combined therapy, we can combine both medical and surgical therapy. How? Monthly pre-operatively we can give this JNRH analogs or any other medical treatment we can give, so that what will happen, there will be reduction in the size and extent of the lesion. There will be adhesions will be softened. You can easily remove these adhesions and it makes the surgery easier and we can complete it much more easier when you give pre-operative medical treatment. Okay, at least for 3 months we can do. Post-operative hormonal treatment also can be given if there is any residual lesion is left behind even after the surgery. And finally is the prophylaxis. One thing they give family history of endometriosis, always ask them to conceive immediately. There is no need to postponement for the conception. Number 2, low dose OC pills reduce the menstrual flow and protect against the endometriosis. Number 3, tubal patency test should not be done in the premenstrual phase. It should be done only after menstruation, before 11th day. Okay. Operations on genital tract should be scheduled in post-menstrual period. This is the prophylaxis you should advise them. Immediately they should conceive. There is no postponement. And Duphaston we can advise if they want. And number 3 is tubal patency test should be avoided in the premenstrual phase, and any operation should be scheduled in the post-menstrual period. Okay. Thank you. My pen class.